right, we good to go, fam. Evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to the 97th episode of Gray Area.
Yeah, we're getting unk status with the shows, man. It's been a long journey, guys.
Grand unk status.
Hey, who in the chat has been here since day one? I want to know. I want to know who my day one people are.
Honey Badger for sure is day one. Maureen is definitely day one. I'm thinking of more people. It's bad that I'm blanking. But I've had a long day. I was helping sick family, helping older family. And we already got our guest in studio here, the legend, a political analyst, commentator. Really honored to, I think, call him a friend. I definitely consider him to be one. Brandon Weichert coming on the show.
Hey, give him 1 second.
One second.
Our guys
added. We got a little bit of an issue here with the tech. Now I got quiet.
Yeah, I did his AI thing on.
But yeah, man, I saw you today on Mario. I was watching you today on Mario talk about the kites, and I thought he said another word.
Wait, give him a second. We haven't added you yet.
Hold on. Here, Wes, go ahead and throw him up if you can. What's going on?
He's just got to add him as a guest speaker on here. Here, I can do it too.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, forgive me, Wes.
Yeah, so why don't you just do a little quick introduction? I know a lot of people do know him. There might be people who don't.
For sure,
him.
I can't talk today. Brandon Weichert is a writer. He is a columnist. He is a political analyst. He used to work up on the Hill. He's just kind of a political animal and all around talk show host now, kind of Mario Newfall's co-host. I see him on there every day, multiple hours a day, talking to the big names, talking to the big people, everyone that we really want to get in touch with, honestly, and some of the people that we have. And I just got to say, you're a staple of my media diet.
Oh, I see what happened
here. Let's just go ahead and fix this.
It was because somebody accidentally removed the speaker. Give me 1 second. I'm just fixing this real quick.
That's tough.
Yeah, you guys just keep on yapping.
We'll just wait a second. Everyone out there, please repost. This is going to be a big show. We got a whole breakdown on some domestic politics today on the beef industry and the crisis going on there. Got some stuff about the wild horses as well. Got some stuff to discuss with you, Brandon, about the latest goings on in the Middle East. Specifically, I don't know if you saw this. I was watching Transition Protocol with Mr. Z and Pepe Escobar today. And they were talking like they had a source or they had somebody connected to the supreme leader that apparently they're going to try to join the Mecca peace accords. But that's between, if I'm not mistaken, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Turkey. Is that for real?
I'm transitioning him now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Finally, yeah, we got you.
Okay. And thank you for that nice introduction, by the way. And it's good to be with you both again. No, you're right. It's Saudi, it's Pakistan, it's Turkey. I talked to, as you noted, I am a co-host officially with Mario.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really fun. But I got a buddy of mine, Matt Bracken. I know you know Rex, and so they had me interview him yesterday. And it's interesting because there is some division among the guests that I've spoken to as to whether this Mecca Accord is really substantive or if it's sort of just, for show. But Matt laid it out pretty well, and he had his famous maps with him yesterday, as to why. And this is what I've been saying as well for a week now, is that big things have small beginnings, as they said in Lawrence of Arabia. And basically, this is the beginning of a true shift geopolitically away from the U.S.-led order that favored Israel. And it is now a new system being birthed. It isn't going to be all-powerful at first. In fact, I'm very skeptical about the Mutual Defense Pact right now. Is it an Article 5 NATO-like agreement? I doubt it, because so far, look, Saudi Arabia's been attacked by the Houthis in the last several weeks. I don't see Pakistan offering to go to war for them. I don't see Turkey offering to go to war for them, not yet. But I think the fact that they're doing this, and the fact, as Matt said yesterday, he pointed this out, they signed the agreement it's called Mecca. Well, who's not allowed in Mecca? Jews and Christians and non-Muslims. So this was a clear, shot across the bow geopolitically that, hey, we're shifting. We're no longer going to be U.S. vassals. We don't trust America, and we're certainly not going to favor Israel the way that we were under the old Abraham Accords. Now we're going to do our own thing, and it's going to be a Muslim-first group. And yes, they have talked to Iran, possibly at the very least joining as an observer state. And also, by the way, the UAE. The UAE has been making noise that they might want to join soon as well.
Go ahead and ask your question.
I said, which countries do you think are going to be part of this? Because my first understanding is I thought you were talking about the Saudi, Pakistani,
Turkey, but it's growing.
Yeah.
It's growing. It's the nucleus is those three countries, but it's not just those three countries. It's going to be, they're envisioning, and they want basically all of the Muslim world coming together in an alliance. Now, there is some debate as to whether some of those smaller Muslim countries, some of countries like Kuwait, Qatar, there was some debate, would UAE, but now the scuttlebutt is in the last 48 hours that the UAE is making noise like, oh no, we'd like to join this. But my assumption, and I think a lot of people who think this is a real sizable seismic shift geopolitically in the region, we're all saying, look, at the very least, it's going to be not only Pakistan, Saudi, Turkey, but eventually Egypt, eventually Iran. And those are 5 major countries right now in the Middle East. So that alone indicates a real shift if they all come together. That would be huge.
How is it that you can get now Iran in the equation when you're talking about 2 different fractions of Islam? Like, they've never gotten along.
Well, yeah. And so this is where you now start to realize that the bin Ladenist dream of a pan-Islamic caliphate on some level is coming to fruition 20 years after his death, or, however many years after his death. And this was actually something that my friend Michael Scheuer, who is the former CIA bin Laden unit director, he wrote in a 2004 book. It wasn't Marching Toward Hell. I can't remember what. He's written so many books. It was one of his books. They got him labeled an anti-Semite. But what he said was the U.S. and Israeli military action post 9/11 is going to lead to not only a defeat for the U.S. and Israelis, but it will actually create the conditions for a new caliphate to arise. And I believe that is happening now. And they're putting aside their differences. These countries are, not because they don't believe in the Sunni Shiite split or whatever. Those disagreements are still there. And this is actually, maybe it's a good thing on some level from sort of an objective standpoint, maybe not from the American standpoint, but from an objective standpoint, they're moving beyond the religious divide and they're putting national interests ahead of the religious division.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I saw, Chaz Freeman, who's
ambassador.
One of the great statesmen. It's a sin he's not the Secretary of State. But Chaz Freeman was saying something along the lines, I think it was to Glenn Deason in the last week, about, look, what you're seeing is the equivalent of what happened in Europe in the 30 Years' War, where basically some Catholic countries like France actually aligned with some Protestant countries, I think Switzerland or Sweden, for their own national interests. So they put the national interest ahead of the religious division, which until that point was unheard of. Something similar is probably afoot in the Muslim world in the greater Middle East. And this is a huge deal. I mean, this is big. It means that the idea that they're just going to be driven by these religious matters and these countries don't really mean anything, it's not anymore. The reality is we now have true nation states, and you have real national sovereignty or concerns of that in the Middle East. And to me, that's interesting. I think that's really wild, and I'm kind of happy to see it's not just the religious stuff that's driving the region. There is some room, I think, for rationality here and for real diplomacy. I just wish the United States would step back from its maximalist imperial ambition in the region and actually start dealing, more fairly with these countries.
That's exactly what I want to ask you, because when I was listening to Mr. Z and Pepe Escobar talk about this, my first thought was, what about Jared Kushner? What about the Abraham Accords? What about that plan for the region? How does that conflict with this? How could it be overcome by this, or vice versa? What's your view on that situation?
Well, the Abraham Accords are dead. And I say this as somebody who wrote the book on the Abraham Accords. Mind you, I actually consulted with Avi and Jared in 2018 in DC about this. And the way they spun what they were trying to do to us group in private, because wasn't just me, there was a group of us that were sort of giving informal advice at the beginning of the discussions about Abraham Accord. The way they spun it was very different from how it ended up. And I don't know if all of that is their fault, because Trump got out of office right as it was getting going, and Biden did kind of come in and change some stuff, didn't prioritize certain things. Okay, fine. But ultimately, the whole point of the Abraham Accord was to bring the Sunni world with the traditional American allies in the Sunni world into a closer military and economic alliance with the Israelis, with the ostensible goal being to contain and deter a rising Iran, sort of like what NATO did to the Soviet Union in the Cold War. That is shredded. There's no way. And by the way, this goes back to 2023, right? This goes back to when the Israelis started going crazy in Gaza. It's like all those Sunni Arab countries who were actually normalizing relations for the first time with Israel. I mean, it really was a victory for the Trump first term. In the Biden term, you saw this really coming out. But the minute that the Israelis went gangbusters in Gaza against the civilians, flattening everything in sight, the Sunni Arab states never could get on board. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to support this?
Slaughter your own people. The population
right.
will revolt if they
That's right.
Exactly.
Right. So they looked the other way, these governments. They were tepidly opposed to it, but they obviously couldn't go too far. But now the Iran war has happened, and it's gone so disastrously for the United States, for Israel, and for the overarching U.S. security umbrella in the region. The promise of the post-1991 era was that, you give us bases, we give you security and certain economic benefits, Sunni countries. Well, that's all out the window now, because the bases were not protection. Right? They invited attack. They did a lot of damage to the economies of those countries. And so now those countries are looking around going, we don't trust the Americans. We don't think the Americans are militarily competent like we thought they were. And by the way, we don't want the Israelis to be running everything, and they're running everything through Washington. And oh, by the way, we want to have a better, more equitable arrangement with Iran, because clearly we can't beat Iran militarily. The Americans can't beat Iran militarily. So we have to do something entirely new. And that's, I think, where this Mecca Accord comes in. And I think that's where the idea of, hey, let's include the Iranians. And the Iranians are open to it. It's everything the Iranians wanted. The Iranians... Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know the implications of that, right? Like, you are divorcing the husband. Like that's a big problem. For the
Israelis, it is.
Well, I'm saying for the Israelis, but just think about these Gulf states joining this and then saying, hey, we're going to bring in Iran. Like, I don't see fundamentally how Trump would be okay with this.
Well, so far he's okay with it. He's encouraging it. That's what it sounds like. I mean, he hasn't made an official statement, but from what I've heard is he was sort of blindsided by it. And then he did not freak out about it. He just said, oh, okay, well, we welcome them to do more burden sharing. And
this is crazy.
This is bizarre.
Now, this was before the Iran announcement, though. This was only when it was Turkey, Saudi, and Pakistan. But at the end of the day, so, I've been of the mind that he's the Mad King, and I still think he's the Mad King. I've been of the mind that he's going to do something after the midterms, absolutely unhinged militarily. However, I have been talking to people like retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski. I have been talking to people with military background who also think he's the Mad King, but think fundamentally the U.S. military cannot literally do another offensive, that we are depleted and drained so badly. And Trump knows it now. And Trump obviously is not going to admit that publicly. So this economic warfare thing he's talking about, Karen is insistent, and she might be right. Karen is insistent that, no, this is actually his off-ramp. He's going to say, yeah, we're doing economic war. Give it time. We have a blockade. The blockade's very leaky. The Chinese aren't going to go along with the economic war, which means there's no way the economic war is going to work. Trump knows all this. He doesn't care. He just wants out, but he doesn't want to admit that he's out. So this is how he does it.
This makes zero sense. For Trump to be able to do this means he would have to go after China. He's talking about isolating Iran. Almost all of Iran's economic survival has been from the oil.
Yeah, and China already said they're not going to follow the.
Well, we've already tried this, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about the tariff war. We didn't win that. We
lost.
We had to back off because China had just as much leverage. So how, Brandon, is this any different from us going back 6 months?
Oh, it's not any different, but I think because I'm on the fence about this, I'm still not convinced personally that Trump is a rational actor. I mean,
yeah.
But I tell Karen this all the time because she's like, no, I'm telling you, the military's told him there's nothing more they can do. And Matt Bracken did lay out yesterday in my interview with him a very significant nightmare scenario where Trump basically orders another round of airstrikes, like massive, like we had at the beginning of this war. Crazy. And basically we only get a third of our planes in the air before the Iranians, with the help of China and Russia's surveillance, within 10 minutes, they knock out our remaining air bases. They knock out our planes that are waiting to take off. And we only have a third of the force in the air, which is not going to be enough then to conduct the kind of massive airstrike that Trump might want to do, which would be a huge humiliating defeat of the United States military power. The military is likely, Matt said, already briefed Trump on this. Trump, if he's not crazy, Trump might have listened this time, and he might be willing to just basically let the pieces fall as they may, which will empower China, which will empower Iran, which will ensure the Arab states pivot away from us, which will ensure Israel is weak and isolated and contained the way that Iran had been for the last 30, 40 years. But Trump might say, okay, as long as I'm not seen as actually losing anything, I can pivot. I can say I'm doing an economic war, but in reality, nothing really is going on. But hey, I've avoided a real, humiliating defeat. I don't know. That could be at play here.
So that latest threat of the economic D-Day, the tweets, the signaling on it, Scott Bessent comes out. He goes, I don't know why oil prices are rising. I thought we were able to manipulate them. That's basically inferred from what he's saying.
Right. Well, what he's saying is the manipulations aren't working anymore.
Right. So it's grasping at straws then.
Yeah, the whole administration right now, this is why all these people are bailing, right? This is why, Caroline Leavitt was the smartest of the lot. She's bailing, now before it gets really bad. Good for her. But poor Natalie. But anyway, there's a group of Trump advisors who are leaving, and it's not just Trump advisors though. Unfortunately, there's some good people that are leaving. The current deputy national security advisor, Andy Baker, my understanding is he's out. He's resigning, and he's Vance's national security advisor.
Wow.
There was another, Driscoll. Dan Driscoll. Driscoll, who should have been the Secretary of Defense. Dan Driscoll is out because of his feud with Hegseth. You've had a handful of people who could have tried to stop some of the craziness who are getting out. But basically, the administration's over. I think what you're going to see for the next 18 months, 2 years is basically them, just flailing about, kind of like what you just said. They're just sort
scary. That is terrifying.
That is terrifying, because that is where desperation could lead to something crazy happening, which is where my fear still is.
So there's two things here, right? So we were talking to Joe Kemp probably 3 days ago.
Yeah. He
explains this like he's like, the president gets his briefings, but he only really relies on the information of his inner circle, and his circle is pretty closed off. Like I'm pretty sure he iced out Tulsi Gabbard.
He said that on February 28th, he was on the lawn with, I believe it was John Ratcliffe, the head of the CIA, Susie Wiles, and then I think it was
all the Zionists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But let's just be clear. And I am no lover of Ratcliffe. I will tell you, I have it on very good authority that Ratcliffe, Mr. Zionist, actually told the president, don't do the war. That is what I have heard, is that he, as CIA director, said, Mr. President, there's not enough there. The Israelis they're not giving you the full case here.
I agree with that. Well, because Kent said all of the agencies were in agreement with the consensus.
Yeah. So even Ratcliffe, and when you lose John Ratcliffe, it's like losing Mike Huckabee on this issue, right? It's like if you lose those guys, and I'm not saying Mike Huckabee was opposed to it, but I'm just saying Ratcliffe is on the level of Huckabee when it comes to pro-Israel. And when he's telling you, and supposedly Rubio as well, they're saying, Mr. President, I don't know about this. This might not, we don't like the regime either, but the Israelis are selling you a bill of goods. When those guys are saying that, that's really bad. And the president didn't listen to even them. He still listened to Netanyahu. It's scary. And I don't know if it's, I know everybody says Epstein files, and maybe that, I don't know. And I don't want to say I know. I don't know. I've heard things from certain Qatari sources and Russian sources about that, but I have no idea. What I will tell you is, and I might have said this to you before, Rex, you don't even need the Epstein files to move Trump, right? All you got to do is tell him how good he is, tell him how great he is, and give his family a shit ton of money.
You said that on the War Room. Yeah, exactly.
I said that. Yeah. Okay. So, and that's what you have here. And Netanyahu, says pretty things to him, and then the Zionist donors pay him a lot of money, or they give his family and their businesses a lot of money, cut them into deals, and they already got you then. Why? And then, by the way, I forget who I was talking to recently, but they were like, look, if you ever met Netanyahu, he doesn't sound like an Israeli. He doesn't act like an Israeli. He acts like a guy from New York. And he's very American, and he went to school in America, and he understands the American system intimately. And he knows how to talk to Trump, because Trump and him are very similar in terms of how they talk, how they treat people, their background, they view themselves. They have a lot of commonality. You remove yes, exactly. You remove Netanyahu, though, and you get this Gadi Eisenkot, who's likely, I think, going to succeed Netanyahu, who's the former IDF chief of staff, head of the army. He's very Israeli. He's very foreign. He doesn't talk like a New Yorker. He talks like an Israeli. And I don't know if he's going to have the same savviness and ease around the American system, and certainly around Trump, the way that Netanyahu did. So in the long run, this election in October might end up working in America's favor, in that Trump no longer is beholden the same way to the next Israeli leader that he's beholden to Bibi.
So my opinion has kind of swayed back and forth about why Trump is just not focusing on domestic policy. It's so easy. Like, he knows his approval ratings are in the dump. Like, all you have to do is just start coming out of the string and of investments and just say, we're just going to be pouring into the economy, and then approval ratings go up. What I think is happening here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I made this conclusion after our last interview.
I think I agree.
Joe. It was like, what about him being afraid of death? Because before he got in, people were afraid of what he was going to do to the system. He was saying all the right things. Coming in.
Well, hiring Tulsi. I mean, that was a huge thing when he did that. Yeah.
So all of these things added up to, we can't have this guy in the White House. Let's kill him. He almost dies. Like, I don't see how you can calculate moving your head to where that's a false flag.
That's 100% real.
It was 100% real. And
I don't think it was the Ukrainians or the Iranians, though.
Well, we don't know who it is, and I'm not even forming a conclusion. All I know is that after that, he was pretty shooken up because he didn't come out with the investigation to say this is what happened, this is who committed it. I'm sure he knows.
He said he'd never talk about it.
But what I would assume,
well, and he's tuppering it up.
Yeah, he's tuppering it up, but I think it's because there has to be somebody that said, all right, we didn't kill you this time, but we know how to do it again. We know all of these people exist. And I'm not a conspiracy guy. It just makes sense to me that
I don't think anybody said anything to him. I think he read between the lines.
Yeah, he read between the lines.
I think he figured out very quickly that we'll look at it, and I'm not taking up for him because I think he's a failed president. I think he's a literal moron, honestly. Agreed. But and people online say they don't take me seriously anymore because I say this, but I don't know how else you. Anyway, so he comes in. They just basically stole the election in 2020. They just did lawfare for years against him and his family. They raided poor Melania's her dresser. The FBI went into Barron's room at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it was very personal. They tried to bankrupt him. All that really happened. That was a real thing that happened. And so here he is coming off of that. Then the attempted shooting of him, not once, but twice.
Yep.
Right? Back to back. Both, supposedly secure sites, not quite secure, it turns out. A lot of questions as to what that was. And I think Trump read between. And then what happens after the first shooting? The first shooting was when? It was June, wasn't it, of 24? Was that correct?
I think it was a little later than
July
that.
or August.
July or August.
Yeah, it was July
okay.
or August.
It was right because
yeah. Okay, so right around that time, what happens? Miriam Adelson orchestrates I call it the Great Rapprochement between Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago. If you remember, Trump had basically sworn off Netanyahu for two reasons. In the last year of his first term, Netanyahu and Trump planned the Soleimani killing. And then literally the night before U.S. and Israeli forces were supposed to jointly execute it, Netanyahu called and said, can't be there, buddy. Sorry. Good luck and God bless. And Trump still did the raid, but he was pissed. And he said, Netanyahu left me out in the cold. What the hell? This was for him, not for me. And then when Biden is, they're challenging the 2020 outcome election, Netanyahu, I think, is like the fifth or sixth leader to call Biden and congratulate him before even the first trial on the election is resolved. And Trump went apoplectic and he cursed out his aides about Netanyahu. I never should have trusted him. I knew he was bad news. I saved him. I made Jerusalem the capital, and this is how he repays me. And, it was very much Joe Pesci, right, in the Goodfellas.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And he basically swore off not just Netanyahu, but Israel. And then 2024 rolls around. And then the lawfare's going on. And then they're going after his wealth. And the campaign is, he's got to fund the campaign. And he doesn't want to spend his own money because I don't think he had a lot of money at that point. I don't think he was flush. I think he had a lot of net worth. But he wasn't flush. And he doesn't want to spend his own money anyway. I mean, he's like notoriously cheap and not like Ross Perot. And then in June, I think it was June or July of 24, Miriam Adelson steps in. And she says, okay, I can solve a lot of your problems. I'll give you a cartoonish amount of my late husband's money, but you have to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu. You have to break bread at Mar-a-Lago, and you got to basically agree to be a true partner going forward. And we'll make sure you get into office. And then after that, either right before or right after is the first shooting. Then you've got the second shooting. Then you've got Elon and the tech bros, the broligarchs intervening with their money. the rest is history. And then Trump is suddenly singing to the tune of Israel and the Broligarchs, and he suddenly loves data centers and is basically a Zionist. So, take from that what you will, but I do think that there's more to those shootings than we realize. And I don't believe it was Ukraine or
he's
Iran.
owned at this point.
I think he's definitely afraid. I think he's definitely afraid.
Yeah, I was talking to Mark Mitchell, formerly of Rasmussen.
Yeah, I know Mark.
Polling. He's a phenomenal guy, phenomenal guest. You guys got to get him on. I think
I've mentioned him out just so everybody knows, because I get a lot of. I have absolutely no authority over guests for Mario. His team, I'll recommend, and then they do their algorithm, whatever. And
for sure,
yeah.
What he said is plata or plomo, the Pablo Escobar equation, silver or lead, right? You take the money or something happens to you.
That's right.
I think that's an astute observation that you make around reading between the lines, because that's all everything is, really.
Well, especially Trump. I mean, look, Trump is a cartoonish figure, but at the same time, he I was watching, I'm rewatching one of my favorite series of all time. I haven't watched it in 20, 30 years, was X-Files. And Trump is in the X-Files, right? Trump Casino. They go to Trump Casino in one of the episodes. Another episode is a flashback to Roy Cohn. And so Trump is just sprinkled throughout pop culture from like the mid-'80s onward. This guy has staying power, okay? You don't have that kind of staying power if you are so cartoonish nobody takes you seriously. So he does have the ability to read between the lines. He has made a lot of money in his life based on that skill. There's no doubt. When I say he's a literal moron, I'm talking about in terms of politics and sort of foreign policy and some of the stuff he's doing in his second term. But do I think he's a dumb guy? No, I don't. And I think in business, he was very successful. I mean, hell, he got the banks to bail him out of bankruptcy. I mean, how many people do that? So this guy is the king of reading between the lines and knowing, how to push people and when to fold and when not to, at least in business. And I think that skill set was probably at play with the knowing or the lead conversation or, assumption.
Right. And then it creates kind of this thing where he's like, I am skilled in knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to cut deals. And he tries to bring that onto kind of a geopolitical world stage.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Even more so than that, his allies, the people he thinks he's dealing with, it's not, this is some money here for some property there. You're dealing with the whole planet, right? So they kind of look at him as somebody with the Dunning-Kruger effect, where he thinks he knows all this stuff based off his past experience, but he's not a diplomat. He's not a military man. He's not a traditional politician. And
he doesn't listen to advice.
No, he doesn't. Because he thinks.
Yeah, sorry, Rex. Yeah.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
No, yeah, I mean, he thinks he thinks he knows it all. And my problem is like, we all know he's out of here in 2 years. Is our reputation gone? Like on the world stage, even if the next president comes in, have we tarnished all the things that we built up over the last 250 years with just these decisions that have happened between the last two administrations? Like I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, man.
No, it's over. I mean, it's 100% over. And now, I don't know what that means for the average American. I think it'll probably mean, and I talked to Philip Pilkington about this quite a bit, and Philip is another great guest you guys should get on as well. Philip is, he's a commodities guy, and he was an advisor to Viktor Orban as well. But he said to me that his assumption is in the next 2 to 2.5 years, the American empire goes away. The dollar, now I think he might be a little bit extreme in his timeline, but just going off of him, he said in 2 to 2.5 years, he thinks the dollar is no longer the only reserve currency in the world. He thinks that the American hegemony is basically gone. And the best case scenario is the average American, their standard of living declines by 40 to 50%. Their quality of life declines by 40 to 50%. Not unlike what the Russians went through in the 1990s when the Soviet Union collapsed. And I have said, and this goes back to when I worked at the National Interest, one of the bigwigs there, we had a staff meeting, and one of the bigwigs there, it was in January of 25, and at the staff meeting, one of the bigwigs there said, we were sort of joking around, and this was still when I was kind of pro-Trump, right? This is when I was like, well, Trump's going to come in, he's going to get a deal with Russia. And he looked at me, and he was an old timer, and he used to be a diplomat, and he worked in the Soviet affairs desk. And he said, Brandon, he goes, Donald Trump is America's Gorbachev. And
that's me. Hold on, that's me because I got the facial birthmark. People always call me Gorbachev.
Well, not everybody knows who Gorbachev is, but like break that down. The association,
the final ruler of the Soviet Union, and actually not a bad guy necessarily, but he basically presided over the implosion. Now he didn't set out to do that, but he basically imposed or enacted a series of liberal reforms on the very nasty Soviet autocracy. His goal was to save the Soviet Union, to make it more economically prosperous for more people, to liberalize the Soviet political system by enacting, kind of Western political reforms.
Yep. Shock
and all that. And the whole thing, the minute you removed the fear of force from the center, the whole thing imploded. Everybody went their own way, and Gorbachev ended up, being the last leader, and he presided over the demise of the USSR. That was good for America. Wasn't so good for the average Russian in the sense that they had to go through about a decade of hell. Now, today, I think the Russians, to be honest, I think the Russians of the 21st century are doing infinitely better on an individual basis than were the Soviet citizenry in Russia, particularly in the 1980s, when the last decade of the Soviet Union. But it was a hell of a time, and for them to go through in the 90s and early 2000s. And I think that Trump, in his own way, now he's not like Gorbachev in the sense that Gorbachev was very calm, he was very well read, he was an intellectual. Trump is none of those things. Trump is more like Yeltsin in that way. His personality is more like Yeltsin, but his what he's doing or what he said he wanted to do. Remember, he did campaign on releasing the Epstein files. There was an implicit promise with Trump, since he was from the outside, that he was going to tear the system down and put something better. This was basically what Gorbachev said he was going to do when he became leader. And now, obviously, very different and not exact, but the implication was the same. The system's corrupt. I'm the guy that's going to fix it. You got to go with me and let me do my changes. And in both cases, those changes, they ended up being so radical and damaging to the system that the whole thing just fell apart. And I think that's what America's going through right now. I think we're the Soviet Union of the 1980s, and I think the whole thing's imploding. Now, is it going to happen in 2 or 2.5 years? I don't know. Jamie Dimon.
I put it
okay, you put it at 10. Jamie Dimon says 25 years. He says 25 years is when the reserve currency goes away. But again, 25 years, 2 years, somewhere in the middle, 10 or 15.
It started.
It started, and Trump is the trigger. Now he's not the cause of it, though, in the sense that it only is because of him. This is a long time coming, but he is just like the Soviet system. The Soviet system was collapsing for a hell of a long time before Gorbachev got in there. But they're like the spark that initiates the end. Trump's the spark.
And Biden and Trump specifically, the past are going to be 8 years. Like the accelerationism is crazy. And we talk about it all the time. I know you guys talk about it all the time as well. You have SIPs that's created as a response to SWIFT.
Yeah.
Biden pulls the funds out of Russia or freezes their ability to do bank-to-bank transfer. I've heard Larry Johnson talk about Baidu, how that was developed as a direct counter to GPS because the U.S. is like, oh, China, we're not going to let you
in some ways better, by the way.
Right, especially in the global south. I've definitely heard. What other systems do you think, we're talking about this new kind of Middle Eastern NATO, what else do you see developing kind of as symptoms of this disease of the hegemony dying?
Well, you just had the fallout with Canada.
Yeah.
And
talk about that a little.
Yeah, so basically Trump gave Ottawa a choice, and he's doing this to the world. It's either us or China, whether it be on AI or trade or whatever. And 20 years ago, that deal would have been no-brainer. Everybody in the world would have said, America. China probably would have even said America. Today, that ain't the case. And basically, now I just talked to Steve Hanke, literally, right? But that's why I was 5 minutes late. We were wrapping up with him, who's the king of dollarization. He's an interesting guy, old Johns Hopkins professor, old Reagan guy. But we were talking about basically what happened in these negotiations with Canada. How did we F up a trade deal with Canada? I know that Canada does stuff we don't like, but for God's sakes, it's Canada. How does an American president F that one up? That's like a layup. What Steve told me, what Professor Hanke told me, was that basically the professional negotiators from the State Department and the Treasury Department and all the Commerce Department, those guys met with their Canadian counterparts and they basically had a deal. No muss, no fuss. It was exactly what the president wanted at the beginning of the negotiation. But then a bunch of MAGA political appointees were deployed by the White House to the negotiations this week. They came in with just absurd demands. Basically, they wanted Canada to cede sovereignty on their ability to cut trade deals that have nothing to do with the United States.
Yeah.
And the Canadian side, and I do not blame Canada, the Canadian side said, look, we've negotiated with the American side in good faith. We're basically at a deal. Now the Trump administration is adding all of these extra things that we are never going to be able to agree to because unless we want to be a vassal to the United States, we're walking. And it was not the Canadians' fault. The Canadians had dealt in good faith. And I say this as somebody who's been very critical of Canada on certain issues. But the Canadians were operating in good faith. It was the Trump political people who came in and basically nuked the deal. And we're going to be so you ask, like, what does that mean? Well, here's what that means in the near term. What it means in the near term is the auto industry in the United States depends heavily on Canada. The auto industry in the United States is dying already. The Canadians have already said, we're hitting you now, dollar for dollar, beginning September 8th. Carney said yesterday, this is, quote, total economic warfare with the United States, and we will go dollar for dollar with Washington, beginning September 8th. So hopefully Trump wakes up and has a moment of clarity before then and cuts the deal that he was negotiating before. Because if not, the auto industry is going to be most disproportionately impacted. Then there's also
too, right?
Agriculture as well, but even more dangerously, energy. Doug Ford, who's the Ontario governor, basically, of the province, which is the equivalent of a state, the Ontario state or the province of Ontario, he came out and said that they are looking at ways to basically shut down the energy flows from Canada into the United States, the Midwest.
That's like Buffalo, Rochester, all of the northern part of New York. Oh my God.
Yeah. And guess what else Ottawa is doing? Now, as Steve Hanke said, he goes, look, he said, long run, Canada's going to be boxed in because they're too integrated. But in the near term, they're going to be able to, he didn't say the F word, but I'm going to say they're going to be able to F us up in the near term. And one of the things they're doing at the margins, as Steve was saying, everything in economics happens at the margins. What they're doing at the margins is they have since probably mid-25, since Trump first started talking about Canada as the 51st state, they have started to reposition their trade flows toward China, which means now Canada, which always had a healthy relationship with China on trade, now Canada has intensified their trade relations with Beijing. And they are now becoming basically sort of an extension, if you will, or they could become an extension even of the Belt and Road Initiative in North America. That's, mind you, Canada, which has the largest undefended land border in the world with the United States.
But wait, hold on. We're doing all the wars, all the economic warfare, all the bad stuff to fight China, I thought. Weren't we trying to fight China? What do you think, Tim?
I'm sick to my stomach.
So it's the meme, man. Like, Xi Jinping does nothing, still wins.
Yes, that's literally, I'm like, this guy, all he has to do is just sit there and let America literally punch itself.
Yeah, that's basically it. Trump is I said this. I said Trump is the king of self-defeat. Like like I said to Steve, I'm like, look, I actually said this to General Manor. I said, look, Trump is Mr. Dealmaker, yet you can't make a deal with Canada. You screw up what is the equivalent of a layup, and we're all supposed to feel like this guy's got our back on getting a deal with Iran, which isn't going to happen. Getting a deal with with Russia on Ukraine, that ain't going to happen. There's another thing. So you want to talk about, and it's really a splinterverse, if you will. The world is bifurcating between China and the United States. It's very interesting here because I actually don't think, I think the Chinese leaders in a perfect world, they'd be very happy being the top dog. But the Chinese are actually not actively pursuing that. They're not.
What?
They're not actively pursuing dominance. What's happening is they are creating alternatives as fail-safes because they think America's in decline and they don't trust that Washington won't open up economic warfare on them. So this is why they're creating the alternative to SWIFT. This is why they're doing certain things. It's not because they do want to be the hegemon. They don't want Chinese troops policing the streets of Baghdad. That's an American thing. They don't want that, okay? That's a headache for them. But they're creating insurance policies, basically. But what happens is the more insane America behaves and the more stupid we act on the world stage, the more appealing China looks to the rest of the world. And naturally, those insurance policies basically suddenly become real alternatives to the US dollar, to the world order as commanded by the post-1945 liberal economic and international system that the U.S. created at the end of World War II.
Well, here's the problem with all of this, right?
There's a lot of problems.
Well, all of it is stacking up. It is literally a compounding effect.
That's
just because people forgive doesn't mean they forget. Or because they say, oh, we'll comply doesn't mean that they're not in the background talking about these things. The entire world is watching all of these situations just like the rest of us. As they see this happening with Canada, it builds this anger and animosity to where the entire world is looking at us as now the problem. I mean, Israel's got its own things, right? In its own hemisphere and what we've been dragged into. But if you just look at the attitude that we have treated all of these other countries, Canada, the NATO, the European Union, even India, they are royally pissed off too. Like there's so many countries
stuck with their energy.
Yeah.
So many things.
Well, the thing with the Indians is so effed up because Biden tells them, it's okay to buy from Russia.
Yes.
Go ahead. We'll look the other way. Trump comes in and says, oh, you can't believe you're doing this. I'm going to F you over. You can't buy from them. And the Indians are going, dude, we're just trying to keep our energy going. Like, we're just trying to feed our people. What the F? Okay. What's the solution here? So the whole U.S.-led system, it's looking a lot like the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact. It's looking a lot like it's dictatorial, it's mercurial, it's unstable, it's unpredictable, it's not dependable, it's imperious. People don't like it. Yeah. And it's not prosperous in the way it once was. Okay, you still have prosperity, no doubt. But it's harder and harder to do business because of how unstable our leadership is. And so this is all having, as you say, a stacking or a negative feedback loop on ensuring the expedited destruction of the U.S.-led world order. And the only solution, and this is, I'm going to shamelessly plug my upcoming book with my upcoming Tucker Carlson book. It's through his imprint. It's called Fortress America's The New Monroe Doctrine.
Let's get that pulled up.
There's no image yet. We haven't got cover art or anything yet. It's very early on. Well, it's coming out in November, but we're going to be picking cover art in the next week. But basically, the whole argument I'm making is it's time for America to bring the legions home. No more European intervention. Definitely no more Middle Eastern intervention. and let's draw a defensive line somewhere in the second island chain of the Indo-Pacific. We've lost the first island chain already. The Chinese are going to run the gamut there. Japan will counter them. The Philippines might give them headaches. Okay, fine. But in terms of like America's going to be able to dictate terms in the first island chain, bull. And I think in the next 20 years, Taiwan's going to naturally want to go back to China, or at least have greater stable relations with China. We need to focus on the Western Hemisphere. We need to basically focus on everything from the Arctic through the Amazon down to the Antarctic. We need to control the Panama Canal, which, by the way, we do not control.
China does.
Well, China just, we got a favorable court ruling in February from the Panama Supreme Court saying they're going to kick out C.K. Hutchinson, which is the Hong Kong firm that owns the two ports on the Atlantic and Pacific sides of the canal zone. And then we went to war in the Middle East, took our eye off the ball, and for the last 7 months or 6 months, the Chinese have been stopping all Panamanian flagged cargo ships in Chinese ports and not letting them leave for months and weeks under inspections. And that's been killing the Panamanian economy. The U.S. did not know didn't care this was going on, didn't do anything to ameliorate it. And so the Panamanian government, out of desperation, realizing the Americans are busy in the Middle East, they made a deal now with China in the last few weeks. Wall Street Journal reported on this. The last few weeks, they basically reseeded the two ports to C.K. Hutchinson and China.
Wow.
And now the Americans are upset. And, now we're trying to desperately do something about it. But this is, we've got to focus on our hemisphere is what I'm saying.
That's got me rattled. That's crazy. I wasn't even thinking about the Panama Canal in the context of the war because we've all been focused on the Middle East and to a lesser extent, Russia, Ukraine, EU, NATO stuff. Talking about taking the eye off the ball, that's like, I don't know, like giving the bride away. That's insane.
Well, and it's not only there. I mean, if we're probably importing beef now from Argentina.
Brazil,
we gave a $40 billion bailout to Milei a year ago. Guess what? He's in bed with China right now. They've got some of the largest ports in Argentina are owned by China. They're building now from, the port of Chanfu, I think, in Peru, on the Pacific coast of South America. China has a massive port there. They've created a direct transshipment corridor between the port of Chanfu and Shanghai, bypassing North American checkpoints that we control. And now they're linking that port with either Argentina or Brazil through rail lines that the Belt and Road is building in South America. And they're exporting all of the rare earth minerals from South America through the port of Chanfu in Peru over to Shanghai.
We should be president and vice president or president, secretary of state. Because we look at this, you're 27, I'm about to be 24 years old. And how did they not know any better?
Well,
for real. And I know and this is a rhetorical question, of course.
But it's like if your attention is literally on so many different things, it is impossible for you to see every single angle.
Right.
Then you talk about the chain of command and communication fails
and their agenda
as it goes up, right? Like Trump probably doesn't know this stuff happens until
Trump doesn't know what he doesn't know. I mean, he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and they're not telling him. And that gets back to what Joe Kent was telling you. They put him in a bubble, and all of the Israelis are whispering in his ear. They're the only ones he's hearing. So he's not thinking about any of this other stuff. And that's why in my book I argue the absolute laser focus needs to be on our hemisphere, nothing else. Because if you don't have your own sphere, you lose the whole world.
My problem with that is we do rely on different parts of the world now for cheap goods. Like, I mean, like coffee.
So I address that in the book.
Okay, so like how are we addressing the fact that we have control in military bases all over, which allows us to have cheaper access to these things?
We don't have control. I quibble with. I don't think we have real control.
Okay, explain.
I think it's the illusion of control. If we had real control, for instance, this war with Iran would have gone very differently. If we had real control, Afghanistan wouldn't have gone down the way it did. I think we have the illusion of control. I think what we have done is overstretched ourselves so badly that, we have a flag all over the world and we've got some troops around it and maybe some ships, but we can't mass. We can't do the things we need to do to actually punch well. So the punch that we throw, it's not that great. And a lot of our enemies have figured out if you can survive the first punch in a war with the United States, whether it be the Taliban, whether it be Iran, or God help us, China, if you can survive that first punch, you're fine. Because the Americans don't have any more, because we're all stretched.
It's a power puncher that has no power in the punches anymore, and then there's nothing to be afraid of. And these other countries have had to become very nimble, very mobile, very function research almost, where you put them under sanctions, put them under warfare,
it makes them stronger
conditions. It makes them stronger, and then us kind of like in the oasis of strength or whatever. It's really become the home of weakness because you don't get up off the couch.
And you're showing people superpowers they didn't even know they had.
Right,
crazy.
That's right.
Put it.
That's right. Well, and so that's why I think we need to just abandon a lot of our 80 to 90% of our commitments outside of the hemisphere and focus on the hemisphere. If you don't do something, and it's got to be in the economic domain, because it's not even military where China's challenging us. It's in the economic and trade sphere. We've got to do some real reorientation of our economic statecraft into Latin America. We need to also focus on the Arctic. The Russians are eating our lunch in the Arctic. And by the way, part of the reason our presence in the Arctic, and I'm going to have to leave soon, but the reason that part of the Arctic is so weak, our presence there, is because since the 1970s, we have been in a territorial dispute with Canada over the Northwest Passage. Mm-hmm. And so this has been another issue. And then there's also Antarctica. And in Antarctica, while nobody thinks about this, that's key for space relays. That's key for certain space functions that go on are conducted in Antarctica. Mm. And by the way, the Chinese have massively built out their foothold there, along with the Russians. And we have like McMurdo Air Base, but we have a very reduced presence there. And the Chinese, what they're doing is they're creating basically a line of space control nodes from Antarctica through Latin America. So it goes underneath the world, basically, that way. And so, and it's all happening under our nose. It's all happening in our hemisphere. And we're letting it happen because we're too busy in the Middle East. And because we're getting cheap goods from China. So my argument is we need to be selective, but we need to put the tariff walls up on certain industries. We need to rebuild American industry, mining industry. This is a 20-year project. We need to cooperate with the Canadians on some of this too, cooperate with the Mexicans, cooperate with Colombia and some of these other countries as well. But we need to, it's a continental and hemispheric defense plan. And if we don't enact it now, not only are we going to no longer be the world superpower, we're not even going to be the great power here. We're going to be kind of like what the Soviet Union was, surrounded and contained by more powerful actors who are squeezing us in our own territory. And I think that's what China wants to do to us ultimately. I think that's what they are doing.
Powerful information, man.
That's an excellent point. And the last thing I'll just say on that is I don't think anyone's looking to directly attack America in any circumstance. So the justification for having any sort of defense is kind of like null in my mind. So it's just kind of how do you...
I disagree with that.
Well, I'm saying like if we're not meddling in all these other countries and a direct attack on America...
We do start the fights. I will
No, but what I'm saying is that it is not like China or Iran or these other countries or Russia, who is our quote-unquote enemy, is looking to be like, all right, we're trying to launch missiles at America at all. Like I get the defense pact option, but really it's about, okay, all this is an economic play.
I agree.
Is really where I see this. I don't even understand military anymore.
Great points from everybody involved. I think you got a heart out. Thank you, Brandon Weichert. We'll go ahead and
see you later, guys.
See you, man.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, we can break this down.
I think you had to do Mario.
No, you're totally fine. Me and you can break this down just a little bit.
100%.
He's excellent, dude. Honestly, that was a fantastic interview.
Dude, he's one of the best. He's like my favorite political commentator right now, geopolitical
He's
commentator.
very good. Very, very good.
And we got to get that book. We got to do like a book review once we get that
I'll definitely buy it.
Go follow him, guys. We the Brandon on X.
So I just want to unpack what I was trying to say there.
No, go ahead.
It's just he's talking about like, okay, focusing on our own hemisphere and then kind of building up a defense. Really, if I think about defense, we always think about it in military aspect, but it really has to be something in the economic field, because really no country is interested at launching missiles at each other because they all know it's a net negative. There's no calculation where it makes sense because each country is so powerful.
And this is what I say about the nukes. So I do agree with you from that perspective. I think that's what we're talking about here is if you have a world war scenario, a true world war scenario, all the countries get smoked.
Exactly.
Right? And it's not just that, it's also the economically, everything's globalized now. So the trade routes, the different currencies, the different ways that people, do merchant activities from state to state, nation to nation, all that pretty much goes away if you have a true global conflict, which is why it's so fucking stupid what Trump is doing.
It is.
It's so dumb.
I'm so sick to my stomach. Like, I don't even like to be black pill. But when Brandon comes on here, gives me the most perfect explanation of what is happening and how we got here, I'm like, I don't even know how else to feel at the end of the day.
You're very rational. You're always looking for the positive. I'm very much so. I like to look at the contingencies, and I get very negative. And that's the thing is like that's honestly what scares me, bro. Is like you're less optimistic. I don't know how I feel about this. I thought I was the black pillar here.
I got the bug, Rex.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I just, like common sense has left the building. Like I just
left the fucking plane.
It's left the planet. Yeah. He's owned. It's clear. At the end of the day, like he's 80. He has his family to look out for. He's like, well,
why should he care?
Why should he care? And it's like if you put anybody else in the same position who went through all of those other things, there's a lot of people who would take that offer, right? Like that's the calculation.
I gotta go blow my nose.
No, you're good. We're gonna do the deep dive.
Yeah, deep dive time.
So we're gonna talk about what's going on in the world, but really domestically here because we're talking about beef prices. When I get into it, I'm gonna show the tweet that led me down this deep dive. Basically, he's saying he's gonna release 300,000 tons of beef into the market, being able, or something about importing from the market, and it's going to decrease the amount of inflation in beef like 25%. I was like, this is a nothing burger. I need to really look into it. And as I was looking into it, I was like, oh, wait, there's a lot of corruption here too. Les got the nothing burger. Yeah, it is a nothing burger, like the biggest nothing burger you could possibly have. I wish I had that graphic of me and Rex that the InfoWars crew made, where it's like we're eating burgers and we're out of nothing burgers. But it's just anytime you want to look for corruption, you're gonna find it. So I'm gonna be covering how concentrated the beef packing industry is, what it means, who's giving money to Trump, is there any validity? I'm really covering all the things related to beef here, but we'll probably be back in a second. I need to go change into my outfit, of course. But do me a favor, if you are brand new to the show, which there could be some new people, go ahead and just subscribe to the channel. You're probably watching on Gray Area Talks right now. Just simple follow button. You can follow me at TruismTim. I'm right there, linked in the bio. Follow Rex. Oh, we got a dog breaking in. Oh, he's looking for Rex. Oh, he knocks the camera. Give me a second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. He's literally a massive dog. If you were to see this guy in person, he literally just trucked the camera. Yeah. Oh, and our YouTube is also something you should be subscribed to. We're literally almost at 4K. I think we need 30 people to subscribe. So if you're watching on X, just go to the link in the bio on Gray Area Talks and just go hit the YouTube and just subscribe. That's huge for us. All right, so Wes, I'm gonna go change real quick. Go to break, and then I'll be back literally in 60 seconds. fix live. Wait, actually, hold on.
Say that a lot. That's funny, right? All right, well, we're back. And I was making this point to Tim off air, or while we were in the intermission there. My dog was playing with the Trump wig and was shaking it around in his teeth. It's kind of emblematic, right? That's why it's all messed up. I'm like a surfer dude. Hey, dude, I'm a surfer, man. You know?
Praise be Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Marjorie Taylor Greene Trader Brown because grass turns brown under stress. And it's just like, where do you come up with this stuff? It's not even funny anymore.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
It used to be funny, bro. Like Little Marco, Low Energy Jeb Bush.
Sleepy Joe.
Exactly. Not even that long ago. Sleepy Joe Biden. For real.
Okay, I'm just getting everything pulled up real quick.
I'm trying to fix my weave here.
How did you guys like Brandon? I thought this was even better than the first interview that we did because I think I was remote at the time too. I thought that was a very good segment.
So isn't it nice I don't look like a cop anymore when I have hair? That's pretty cool, right? You know what I'm talking about? For real, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, it looks like it doesn't even look like Trump anymore. It's
I know. I'm like Owen Schroyer now. It's just an Owen Schroyer cosplay. Yeah, these two should stick to wearing wigs and doing parodies. We just had like one of the top geopolitical strategists on in the entire world.
Dude, the fact that he's hosting with Mario.
Co-host of Mario.
That's a big deal.
You can go watch Steven Crowder and Tim Pool, and they can talk to you about Muslim foot washing stations, and you can get all paranoid about that. That's more your speed. It's more the junior level. That's okay. You know, different strokes for different folks. Some people, they ride on a short bus. I think that's you. So it is what it is. But yeah, well, tell them about the deep dive a little bit.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into the beef.
Oh, he's got the tweet. Will you throw it up really quick?
Yeah, that's the tweet we're gonna start off with.
Oh, damn, okay.
Go ahead you can go ahead.
All right, I'll read it in character. Today, I concluded a deal to substantially lower the price of ground beef for working American families. As everyone knows, under President Biden, beef prices soared at their fastest rate. You can't say highest because they're higher now under him. And the American beef herd fell to its smallest size in modern history. As we work to rebuild this herd to help our big, beautiful ranchers, for the next 90 days, the United States will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of product for ground beef, not ground beef specifically, to be imported with no out of quota tariff. We have a commitment that this beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. Are we getting rat meat? Like what is this exactly?
Well, I mean, look, you hear it. It's the obvious takeaway here that people think, oh, well, you know, we're going to get 25% cheaper beef, right? Except that's not actually what he promised here. The 25%.
What does it say?
Well, it's the 25% discount happens when this imported beef is sold in the United States. It doesn't happen at the grocery store checkout level. So it's earlier in the supply chain. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got an invasion today. He's being wild. Here, we got to wrangle him. Just give him food. Just rattle the food bag on top of the fridge.
He's
losing his mind. This is why I take the dog. Well, don't destroy the studio, buddy. It's very fragile in here. It's very fragile.
Hold on, I gotta build the Great Wall of China. Give me a second.
Yeah, Rupert, you want fried chicken? Come on, go under the table. Yeah, now he's trapped. Now he's trapped in the studio. Come on, go out. Afuera! Afuera! All right. All right, we're building the Great Wall of China. We're building tariffs against the dog, sanctioning the dog. He's like Iran. You know? He came in here like a Black Swan event. No one does a show like this that's this real, that's this original, this honest, this gray area talks. You got to follow. Repost the stream right now. Let's break 1,000 right now. Repost the stream. Share the link with people. That's the biggest thing in the algorithm.
Hey, we don't Hassan Piker shock the dog.
We don't have the shock collar on the animal. Dog doesn't have a collar on right now, actually.
Get back in the corner.
And that dog is literally just a prop that he has. Like, it's so sad.
Yeah, he just does it for aesthetics.
Well, it'd be like one thing if like the dog had, I guess, behavioral issues if it was aggressive, but it literally like gets up off the bed and he's like, zzz, which is not right.
Which is not right. You're 100%.
Yeah, that's not how we treat
So
dogs.
now, when we talk about 300,000 metric tons, that's only about 3% of what America eats in terms of beef over a full year. So the question is not whether the imported beef is cheaper, but it's what happens to the discount after the beef actually gets here. So it's a whole story here, but let's go ahead and go to the second graphic here. I'm gonna break down how this beef gets to you, the supply chain. You guys zoom in for the audience here.
I can read it from the bottom. Route, U.S. cattle route. So it starts off where you have the rancher or cow-calf producer. That'd be like the big farm, a stalker, backgrounder, feedlot. If you've ever been to a small town in Texas, like you ever go to East Texas with me, Tim, I'll show you a feedlot. And then it goes to the beef packer processor. And it goes to either box beef grinder or route 2 underneath. It's either a foreign producer, then a foreign slaughterhouse, and then imported beef or beef trimmings. And that goes distributor, grocery store, average person.
Right, right. So a lot of that imported beef is lean beef that's used to make the ground beef. And then it can be blended with fattier American beef. But like there's actual beef that comes from overseas. So there's a second route there. You've got the foreign producer, which Brazil, we get a lot of meat from them now. And then that also goes through the processor, gets imported, and then it gets boxed up the same way. Now, the important part is right here. It is at the middle stage that I'm focusing on, right? This is where it gets a little dicey, okay? Number 4 there is where it gets a little bit dicey because it's all about the meat packing processing is where all the monopoly is. Okay, so we'll go to the next graphic. I'm going to show you guys how 85% of the market is literally owned by 4 companies. And it's not just them, it's actually multiple different industries. So go ahead, pull that graphic up. This is perfect.
So it's more of just the big people with money are making a ton more money off this.
Yeah, and you're going to be shocked like what companies these companies own, but I'm just going to show you the distribution. So beef is the most heavy concentrated, but pork is just up there where it's got 4 and then 54% of chicken. And look at JBS and Tyson, just
kings,
mega giants, right? Like I don't even there's nothing you can do to take on those guys. And JBS, I'm about to air all their dirty laundry out tonight because they fucked up, man. This is
some heavy information.
Yeah, this is all the stuff we got to cover because they're not good. I hate monopolies, and it's for this specific reason.
Well, it's anti-free market. It's literally anti-free market.
Exactly.
You have to have a level of regulation.
Exactly. So now if you imagine in this chain, every single instance, there is a price associated with that step in the process. So this is where all the pricing is going to get absorbed, and I'm going to show you why. So let's actually play that video starting at 7:25. It's going to show you how how these companies control it. And it's just wild to me that this stuff is allowed to happen. But they just say, well, it's just business. I'm just buying another company.
And it's just like no one will stop you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, go ahead and pull that up for people.
I want imported rat and horse trimmings from South America to prop up my ground beef market. I think that's good.
The fact that 4 companies buy and process nearly all the beef in the U.S. creates a bottleneck here between them and the feedlot owners, who buy from the backgrounders and the cow-calf producers. The public might only see the vulnerabilities of this structure when disaster strikes, like when a fire took out a Tyson plant in 2019, when multiple meatpacking plants shut down in 2020 due to the COVID pandemic, or in 2021 when JBS underwent a cyber attack, forcing plant closures. During these events, they paid ranchers less and charged consumers more. In a 2021 Senate hearing, a Tyson representative attributed this price spread to the law of supply and demand. Because of closed plants, the supply of live cattle outpaced processors' ability to process those cattle. But many people see the reliance on so few plants to process cattle as exactly the problem.
Cattle producers are saying this is clear evidence of highly concentrated meat packers using their position in the middle of the market to maximize their profits.
That is it. Like, I mean, they're maximizing their profit. Did that go to 8 minutes? Okay, that's fine. No, we're totally fine. But that's the whole purpose of what I'm going to show you guys there. So now you look at let's pull up the graphics showing all the different brands, Because, when you go in a store, you think you have like variety. You're like, oh, I can get Jimmy Dean's and I can get this brand. Go ahead and pull this up. I was really shocked when I saw this graphic and I was like, holy crap. Every brand you can think of that you just thought has been absorbed by these 4 companies. So we've got, I don't even know half of these. I'm sure you know better than me, bro. I just got
a text from a guest who's like, I rushed my whole day for you. And I'm like, come on, man. I'm just trying to do a good job.
Wait, Tyson Foods owns Sara Lee? What?
Right.
Sara Lee's a bread company. So we've got Mexican Original. I don't even know half of these brands. I'm sure you guys have been in grocery stores. Go to the other side. I want to see who JBS owns. Okay. Gold Kissed. I've never heard of these. I'm sure. I don't grocery shop very often, so that's probably my problem.
Sorry, now I feel like a piece of shit, so I was kind of grappling with that for like 30 seconds, but that's over now. Okay, so
these are all the sub companies that are owned by the big company.
This is what you see on bacon. This is what you see in the store. This is where, like, if you go to like a Brookshire Brothers or like a smaller regional grocery chain, like the ones that we have that aren't HEB in Texas, you're going to see a lot of these names. And let's face it, the reason why you're not going to see these names maybe in like a big chain is because they're there and you don't even know it.
Yeah, that's true. You just look at the package and you're like, I'm just going to grab it.
Cargill is huge. Like Shady Brook, I've seen that before. Corner and Company, I've seen that before. Honeysuckle, I've definitely seen that before. Preferred, absolutely. So most definitely.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The government already warned about this. So in 2008, JBS tried to buy National Beef. And the DOJ warned that deal could just leave other 3 companies controlling more than 80% of the fed cattle packing capacity. And so their concern worked both ways. The packers could pay for the cattle, producers less than charging more for the box beef on the other side. And then eventually JBS was like, all right, we're going to abandon this deal. Now, if you jump forward to today, the Justice Department is once again criminally investigating JBS, Tyson, Cargill, National Beef over the same possible anti-competitive behavior. And this investigation doesn't prove that they broke a law, which they definitely have broken some laws. But one of these 4 companies has a history that goes much further than the investigation that they're doing right now. And so we got to talk about how JBS got this big. And so JBS comes from Brazil. You can pull that up, actually. These are the countries where you're getting most of the beef in the entire world. So you got the big 3 countries, United States, Brazil, and the EU, and they make up 45% of the market, guys. So you got China, you got India, Argentina, Australia, Mexico, Pakistan, Turkey. Literally, these top 3 make up the rest of the 50%, and then you've got all these other countries. Iran's got some beef making, but didn't know that. So then now you've got JBS comes from Brazil. And so Brazil is literally one of the biggest producing. They're number 2. And eventually JBS became one of the largest meat packing companies on the entire earth. And so then let's talk about what they did with the corruption, because this is everything here, because it goes into political favors. It goes into geopolitical things like Trump. You're going to see the things that they gave to Trump, like they contributed to his campaign. It's crazy how disgusting all of the lobbying is. And then he's going to sit here and tell us, 25% of the beef. It's not the full story, guys. Let's go ahead and roll this clip here. It's going to show you the more than $148 million in corruption payments. And 1,800 officials politicians bribed in Brazil. This is a true story, guys. Go ahead and pull that up.
Its foothold here in Australia, fueled by years of corrupt dealings in Brazil. JBS's dirty deals started unravelling in 2017 during a major corruption crackdown in Brazil.
There was a real momentum to fight corruption in Brazil during this period. That's when the corruption of JBS was revealed.
The prosecutors started to come after JBS. And then Joesley decided that he was not going to allow that JBS become bankrupted, that he is gonna act first. He's gonna act to protect his company and his family.
Joesley Batista. É só Joesley Batista. Mendonça Batista.
Fearing prosecution, the Batistas and some of their closest executives signed a plea deal. In exchange for immunity, they sensationally confessed to a massive bribery scheme, spending $150 million on more than 1,800 Brazilian officials.
Let it play just a little bit more. It's crazy how these people get away with this stuff.
Scamming and trapping, scamming and trapping, scamming and trapping.
This is certainly one of the biggest corruption schemes ever revealed in the world. The amount of money involved, the amount of people, individuals being bribed, hundreds of politicians receiving dirty money.
Especificamente aqui.
In a key admission, Joesley Batista told prosecutors that JBS's global expansion was made possible through bribery. He confessed to paying kickbacks to Brazil's finance minister to obtain billions of dollars in cheap financing from the public bank BNDES.
Se não fosse essa proximidade com Guido, teria saído do
não teria. Não teria sido.
So pause it. So I'm highlighting JBS because JBS is literally
like the worst offender.
The worst offender and the closest in bed with our own government right now. So in 2021, they did something where Pilgrim's Pride, they pleaded guilty in a federal court to fixing and bid rigging. And prosecutors said that the conspiracy affected like $361 million in chicken sales. And then the company was fined almost $108 million. And so that isn't chicken. It is chicken, but it's not beef. But Pilgrim's was controlled by JBS. Okay. And so JBS controlled company has already pleaded guilty to fixing prices in the American meat industry.
So how does that work exactly? When you say fixing prices, what were they doing?
So when you have a monopoly, if you have enough control over the market,
price gap,
you can set prices to where it doesn't make any sense, right. But people have to comply because where else are they going to get their meat from?
Oh,
and that's what happens with chicken. Yes, exactly. So it's like, well, can we justify just like the eggs? Like it's controlled by a very small group.
We went over that and how it was completely uncorrelated with supply.
Exactly.
The supply was like, and the price went.
The price is going up, and the kickback of the profits that they were getting from the dividends. Like this is all real stuff. And so, we're gonna actually read this article here that I want to talk about how Pilgrim's Pride donated $5 million to Trump's campaign.
Damn,
before he got elected.
A cheap hooker. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So we'll pull that up. Let me pull this up real quick. Ooh. Oh, I zoomed in too much.
Yeah, dude. You know what? If you're gonna sell the entire country, you better sell it for more than $5 million. Good grief.
Okay, let me pull.
And
this
this
up.
is one of his main things too. He talk about food, talk about Biden, destroyed Biden over that. That was one of the things I remember in 2024. People were the most angry about. Yep. It's like, why am I paying $8 for beef? Now you're paying $12.
So when we say Pilgrim's Pride, just think JBS. It's literally the same company. We'll read this real quick. Go ahead.
A recent Federal Election Commission filing revealed that JBS subsidiary Pilgrim's Pride, the second largest poultry processor in the U.S., donated $5 million to President Trump's inaugural committee. This contribution far exceeds the $1 million given by major corporations like Meta and Amazon.
Can you believe that? A meat company is paying more money,
and it is like
than the biggest companies in the world,
and the money has like more even of a like symbolic value than like an actual financial value. Like this is what gets you in the door to have those meetings at the White House, right? Trump's own SEC and the Department of Justice fined JBS and its owners more than $250 million in 2020 during his first term for a massive bribery scheme involving Pilgrim's Pride. So they used to care and now they don't.
Yes, you see?
Yo.
That is crazy. So we know you've done corruption.
They got to control Unc.
But thank you for the $5 million. And we'll do something later about
That's
this.
actually disgusting. I'll keep reading it.
Yes.
The amount was 5 times what the tech giants contributed, underscoring JBS's aggressive strategy to gain influence over the Trump administration and avoid accountability. This kind of backdoor political spending erodes public trust and carries serious consequences. When the SEC expected to rule on JBS's bid to list on the New York Stock Exchange, it's critical that the regulators realize the full scope of the company's long rap sheet, criminal record, basically financial one, of ethical misconduct and the implications it bears for investors. I'll keep reading. Mighty Earth and its allies have filed a series of complaints with the SEC, highlighting JBS's serious governance issues and misreporting of deforestation. So they're destroying the earth as well?
Yeah.
Dude, yo.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, cattle ranchers have also blasted the company for monopolistic practices that could also, I don't know what that word means.
It's literally like monopoly.
Like, okay,
saying.
gotcha.
Monopoly.
Monopolistic, gotcha.
Yeah, tendencies.
Practices that could also imperil its listing. JBS is one of the rare companies that has managed to unite cowboys and conservationists in opposition. And this is kind of a letter to SEC Commissioner Paul Atkins to review it. You're smoking crack. I want some. Like, that's not happening.
No, but like, cut back to this real quick. Do you know, like, dude, rules don't apply to everybody.
Absolutely not.
They really don't.
That's right.
Like, if I try to go and rob a bank right now, my black ass is going to jail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting
They'll
like
probably shoot you.
I'm going
honestly.
20. Yeah, they'll probably shoot me. I'm going 20 to life easily, right? But these guys can freaking
Destroy the country, defraud America.
bribe fucking $150 million and 1,800 politicians, and they get favors.
Well, it's too big to fail. Don't you see? Like, it's like, oh,
Crazy.
well, and this is what I think about, not to get away from the story, because
No, you're good.
It's a phenomenal deep dive. What we've talked about over and over again with RFK Jr., where like his entire platform, his life, he fought a 10-year lawsuit against Monsanto proving that Roundup caused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which means it's carcinogenic, which means it just causes a cancer, period. We can say that and not get sued because that's the truth. He won the money, $270 million. That ain't no chump change, right? That's serious money. And then he comes out and says it's a matter of national security. Simply put, the companies that have the 50 or 500 different flavors of chips and candy and all the garbage in the gas station, they say, whoa, like you're messing with the money now.
Yeah. No, 100%. Hey, somebody asked me if I'm cooking meth. I might as well at this point, because being a good American ain't good enough.
Dude, and here's the thing. A lot of people don't make that calculation.
I'm trying to make an honest living as a businessman, as somebody who's just trying to do.
Just a little methylene blue, okay? RFK Jr. takes it. It's fine. I do have a barrel. I have 50 kilograms of it, by the way.
Oh.
Any manufacturers out there want to buy some of it from me, I do have it.
Yeah, it's just, dude, this stuff pisses me off. And so, you know, he goes up there and he touts the fact that this 25% decreasing, trying to get a win for the Americans, and that your beef is going to be cheaper. But I prosecuted you 6 years ago for literally $250 million of corruption charges, right? But then now I'm going to take $5 million. It all just doesn't add up here. And so when you think about the $5 million they gave to him, later that year, this is where you get the payoff, right? Trump also made Brazilian beef cheaper to bring in the United States. Now you see why they brought the money and why they gave him that. And this is where
it benefits all the big companies to have this supply come in that they can then use.
Well,
how does that work?
There's two different circumstances, okay? It gets a little confusing. So earlier in 2025, Trump had placed an extra 40% tariff on Brazilian products. This is when he was like going ape shit. Anybody who did anything or breathed was getting, you get a tariff, right? So then later he removed that extra penalty specifically for Brazilian beef, okay? And so it didn't make them like completely tariff free. It simply removed the extra tariff that he was providing on top of it.
And now that's gone as well.
And so now what he's doing in 2026 is he's taking a step further, because beef is already tariffed to a certain extent, is what I'm saying. So it's not an extra 40%. But now what he's doing in 2026 is he's temporarily letting this 300,000 metric tons of beef come into without the higher quota in the tariff that comes in. So it's basically they've agreed that we're going to sell it 25% of the market rate if you create this incentive to basically be tariff free. But remember, if I go back to this graphic, pull that up real quick, this is going to show you guys how that 25% is going to be eaten up before it even hits your pocket.
You want to read this one?
Yeah, I'm going to read it.
There it is.
Okay. Oh, I can't see. All right, so you've got...
Yeah, I got really good eyes.
Okay, so basically, you've got 25% discount coming in. All right, you've got the U.S. buyer, the importer, and that discounted beef that's purchased here, and the savings are realized immediately. So basically, you're like, okay, you're first in line to get the discount because the 25% is like the first person in line.
Right.
But then now we go to the first line, which is the processor and the packer. So the beef is processed, trimmed, prepped, blended, all that stuff. So then you got the savings that get eaten up by processing cost, labor, packaging, overhead. Okay, so then the beef needs to be shipped and stored, and it needs to hit the restaurants and the retailers. All right, so that's another portion where that 25% is going to be eaten up in transportation cost, storage, handling, margins, those types of things. And then the beef is sold to the grocery stores. Okay, that's another place where those savings are going to get eaten up. You got the retail margins, the store needs their operating cost. And so then you get to the point where it finally hits your store and you're like, oh, I should see 25% savings, right? Well, no, you hit so many different points at which each one of those has the opportunity to make more money. And it's specifically on that second one where we're talking about the beef processing, where JBS, all of these guys own.
And now they're not having to pay those costs.
They get a discount, and you don't get a discount.
Ooh, the price isn't coming down.
It doesn't come down because now they have the ability to justify, oh, we've got savings here. We can take, they can literally essentially take that money. Yeah, no one can tell a private company you are supposed to charge this amount. You're a private company.
Whatever you set the communist?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's only like you're charging on the raw material, but not the finished good.
Brutal.
So it's just, yeah, and
not
so
very friendly to the American consumer.
No, but do you see the posturing? The reason why I had to cover this is because I'm showing you guys how these presidents, and it's not even just Trump. There's so many presidents that you could probably find similar examples. They tout this thing as like good for the American people. We're gonna help you guys, and they throw these numbers out there, and then you got like the ball washers, like the Mark Levins.
Yeah, the Olympic double hand champions.
Yeah, you got all those guys that literally just meat grinders. Straight up meat grinders talking about like Eric Doherty just talking about Trump is the best man ever. He's going to get your beef down.
Cats heard, I love my president.
That's my president. And it's like all of that signaling, and it's just slop for the MAGA cult to eat up, to be like, oh, see, we can justify why this guy is good, and you should support him in the midterms.
And it's just a soundbite. Like he's like, I'm doing this, and people hear the keywords like beef and price and whatever, and they're like, well, this means that prices are going to come down for me. It's going to be better for me. No, if anything, they'll probably go up.
Now, Rex, how many people are going to sit here and do this research besides the headline?
Nobody.
Exactly. So they're just going to believe it on the surface, and that's what they're relying on you and I and every single person who read that article to believe.
Right.
And you know how many people, dude, I see having these crazy arguments? Like, I see it at work. Like,
yeah, or like both sides aren't based in reality.
Yeah, like the guy's like telling this other dude, like, dude, you don't understand. CNN is just a cult and it's all fake propaganda. He's like, well, Fox is too. And it's like, dude, they're pushing equal propaganda like
it's
this
all
crap.
The same.
And you guys have no idea that you're both being bamboozled. Okay? So then we talk about, and they've done research on this too, right? So historically, the USDA historically studied how beef prices change through the chain. And so the easiest way is to understand this with a dollar. So I'm going to give you guys a scenario. So if the wholesale price of beef is changed by $1, only about 19 to 29% of that change shows up on the retail price 6 months later. Okay? So that doesn't mean somebody stole the other 71 cents. It means that those are costs that go in the middle where all of these points, they're just eating them up.
And now that's reduced because of the foreign import, or what's going on?
So
I lost it.
So think about, like, I say beef is now priced wholesale at $1.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to give you guys savings. they did real studies to show that only about 19 to 29% actually goes towards savings in the retail price. The other 71% or so gets eaten up by all of the sharks who do all of the processing and all the companies.
Whenever there's extra money, it goes to the middle.
Exactly, it goes to the middle.
Gotcha.
And it rarely ends up at the back end.
Thanks for clarifying
people.
that to
so
me.
that's
I get it now.
And that's just me showing you that they actually have done studies. Now it's probably worse now because this is back in 2008, 2011, right? So it's definitely worse because companies are just getting greedier and greedier. Okay, and so then after Trump announced this new import plan. You've got the U.S. cattle futures. They fell to 8-month lows. And think about the timing, right? Like the new foreign beef had not even reached the grocery store yet. Nobody blended it into a hamburger. The stores hadn't even cut their prices yet. But the cattle market moved almost immediately. Okay, so American ranchers can feel the pressure from the cheaper imports because before the consumers ever even see the savings. And then there's one more hitch here where you've got some of the big meat packing industries. They're actually struggling right now because the cattle themselves are so expensive.
Right.
Okay. And so Tyson expects the beef business to lose hundreds of millions of dollars this year. So then you've got some of the savings from the cheaper imported beef could repair some of those margins that they're losing.
I had this amazing thing in my bookmarks, Wes. I'm going to DM it to you. Keep going, Tim. It's just about like you talk about the cattle getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me find this.
Yeah, go ahead and find that. Yeah, so I mean, some could reach the retailers, some could reach the consumers, but like we don't actually know that yet. So like think about this, right? If you've lost so much money and now suddenly you have a new opportunity to save 25%, do you really care about Jimmy and Sally at home?
No.
Struggling? No, you care about the numbers because that's your bonus at the end of the year, how the company is doing.
And it's just they care about the quarter. That's what's even more terrifying.
Exactly.
If you want to talk about short-term decision making.
Exactly.
It's literally like, how do we make it go up so I get a raise this quarter? And you're like, well, that's not sustainable. It's the same thing as to where, like, you're familiar with monocropping, right? Where they just grow the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it was George Washington Carver that said, hey, you can't grow shit here anymore because you're planting the same shit. And then you have to cycle your crops and do it that way. And we still don't do that correctly. We still deplete the soil. Like our farmland is going to be destroyed in like 10 to 20 years. But the concept of really doing this to the beef industry as well, where the cattle is just getting more and more expensive, like, well, we got to find a way to save costs. We're going to get lower quality meat. We're going to get a lot more of that lower quality meat. And then
we love lower quality meat. Give me more slop.
Yeah, we need pure, refined, hydrogenated slop. But here,
He's got it. Go ahead.
It to you. So look at this. Beef cattle currently cost $2,000-ish for a calf at 500 pounds. You have to feed it 25 pounds of hay per day for 30 months when it's ready to harvest. That's 9,100 pounds, 900 pounds per bale for 30 months. 304 bales total at a cost of $1,700. We grow hay. I know about this stuff. We couldn't afford to do it this year because we couldn't buy the fertilizer.
Oh, really?
Yep. I can talk about that.
Explain that a little bit.
After I read this, I will. No other costs. I'm into the cow for $3,700 at 1,400 pounds full grown. I gross approximately 400 pounds of meat. That's $8.23 a pound in the box. In that equation, there are no slaughter costs, no operating costs, no vet costs, no land costs, no upkeep, no diesel, no seed for the fields, no fencing, no labor, no profit for us working 365 days a year, nothing. For sake of argument, let's say all those above costs are offset by selling my premium cuts, which is not even close. Let's say it did, $8.22 a pound. Now, please tell me how ground beef I buy for $7 to $8 in store with the retail store making a profit. They have to keep their doors open to, let's call it a 25% profit margin, and that's low. That's them buying ground beef at $5 to $6 a pound. I'll let y'all form your own conclusions about how this is done. You cut corners, period, end of story. Ain't no other way around it. Next time you buy beef, remember this very basic math and ask yourself what exactly you're putting in your body for $7 to $8. And that's pretty much all we need. He says establish a relationship with your local rancher. Totally agree with that. But getting into it, talking about what I was mentioning earlier with the hay, like we grow hay. Like we have plenty of land. So like traditionally, like year after year after year, we grow it. You have to fertilize, and then you harvest the hay. And then you sell that to people in your community, or you truck it up to Dallas, somewhere where they don't have it. Like up north in Texas and Dallas, they have a lot less of those products, the agricultural stuff, the hay. So it gets shipped up there, but it costs more money for the trucks to come and pick up the hay because of the diesel. It costs more money to get the hay because you got to run the tractor, got to run the combine to make the hay, right? To bale it up, to transport it. You got to make sure that you fertilize the ground with all these critical derivatives of nitrogen and phosphorus all shut down in the Middle East. So you just look at it, all the points of failure are fucked.
And it's stacks on top of each other.
Yeah, and that's just literally like a rinky-dink like home operation. Maybe get like, you know, like 500 like bales a year.
Yeah, so when I lived in Kansas, I worked with a lot of people who outside of work would be farmers.
Right.
And they would tell me similar stuff to where like people were like, it's not even worth it for me to do farming anymore.
Right.
Like it's all of this work and effort, and you're not making any amount of money that like makes it worth your while, right? Like it really does. It really comes down to it. And then just what we're watching right now is if
really quick. Hold on 1 second. I'll mute us really quick. Really 1 second. Rupert, come on, man. All right, we're back.
Yeah, so like if you are trying to make a business, you go into business not because you might love it, right? But you got to make money at the end of the day and survive.
Sure.
And if it doesn't make any sense, that is why we're seeing two scenarios happen. A, the massive companies that have such big corporations and such big overhead, they can save on cost. They have volumes so that the cost doesn't really matter and they can meet that. Okay, but when you talk about a bigger company, that means they're cutting corners. It means you're probably getting slop. It probably means people don't care about the work that they're doing.
It also means that American beef farming from a local level, which is how it's been done traditionally, is dead. And this is what I really want people to understand. I'm not a farmer. I'm not a rancher. I have family that are, all right? So I've been around them and I know, and I worked out in East Texas for a year and I lived out on the ranch and I have baled hay and I have transported it. So I do understand that side of the equation. But if you go out to the country, I really got to take you out to the country, you'll see all manners of family, all types of people. They got cows on their property, right? They got local farming, local ranching. That's what people do. That's going to, if not already, become unsustainable.
And it's not even just that. You think about the younger generation, Gen Z, the generation that comes out, they're also on social media. They're also enjoying, they see the lifestyle. And a lot of those people, the generational farming is not happening the way it used to. People now want to go to cities and enjoy their lives because they see other young kids having fun.
There's
and
that. It's also just the boomer thing of like, well, granddaddy, grandma, they had the land. And then it's like you're saying, the kids, they weren't raised in that culture. They don't want the land, so they move away. Then granddaddy, grandma, they sell land to a mining company, data center, or a big ranching firm.
Yes, dude.
Right? And that's how you create the monopoly. And I want to keep this in mind for people. 92% of farmers and ranchers voted for Trump.
Yep. So we got only farms, bro.
That
was the solution. We got only farms, baby.
We gotta have a clip for that. Go into that a little bit. Like, just extrapolate on that.
There was I think it was 2 months or 3 months ago, the Gov literally changed their thing to onlyfarms.gov.
God help us. You're not even joking.
We're not.
Oh no,
we're not joking.
Wes, can you pull
up Only Farms?
This is how sickening it all is. I thought you would just come up with like a really funny joke, and I was like, Tim, we got to title the segment that.
Oh, you didn't know this is real?
No, we covered it.
Oh yeah.
It's just there's so much horrible stuff happening all the time, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna pull up Only Farms. Like
it's literally a sick joke.
They really thought that this was gonna be it, and they're like, oh, we're helping our farmers. Then you also see like. Trump on interviews sitting in front of like hay and got the props up like we have here, and he's like, oh, I love my farmers. Yeah,
the farmer thoughts are taking over farms are worth a look though. Well, here's the thing: if there was a millionaire rancher lady who was like, you're never gonna work again.
That doesn't. I don't think that. No, it's not
cool with me.
It's not gonna be a website anymore. They literally removed it. You'll have to find the pictures of onlyfarms.gov.
Yeah, they memory hold it because it was so offensive.
It was so offensive. People were upset.
Out.
Yeah, they were. I would have crashed out. Like it means I'm a joke to you.
Like, right? LOL. Yeah.
Think about it. Like everybody knows what OnlyFans is. Oh yeah, this is it.
Yeah, you're calling farmers prostitutes.
Look at this. OnlyFans.
I'm not even bashing. I'm not even
Our
bashing
country's
that line
a
of
joke.
work. I'm not even bashing the people that do that. Okay.
Well, OnlyFans?
Well, here's the thing, man. You got to make a living somehow in this economy.
Hey, look, if I was beautiful and had some tatas,
No,
maybe I'd sell
no,
my
all right.
maybe I sell my soul. You know.
All right. But look at that.
No, pull it back up again. No, I mean, our society's degenerate now, but it's okay. We've got only farms here.
That's right. Trump will save us.
So, delivering for farms in rural America, and it's literally onlyfarms.gov. I think this lasted like 48 hours maximum.
And then they were like, shut it down.
Yeah, scroll down. Is there anything else on this brochure?
That's all we got left.
Oh my God.
Damn.
It's just
dude.
crazy. It's just crazy.
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, well,
I had forgotten.
Dude, the presidency, the administration, whoever's running the White House account,
right?
Total clowns, bro. Like I see so much wild stuff on there now where like you see the edited videos and stuff that they're reposting or like they're memeing, and you could tell it's like Gen Z people running those accounts.
They gave a bunch of 20-year-olds access to the social media accounts that were like diehard for the president.
Right.
You know, it's just like Brandon Weichert mentioned Natalie earlier. Trump has an aide that literally sends out all his tweets that he's like, you know, has a crush on or whatever. And this is not how you run a government or a country.
Oh, that's who he was talking about. He
yeah,
kept saying
Natalie Harp. Like she's the person. Maybe Wes, can we pull up a photo of Trump and Natalie Harp?
So who is she?
She is a White House aide, and she's essentially like Trump's like secretary.
We know how that goes.
We'll put that in a nice way.
I do not have sex relationships.
Here's the thing, you know, as time goes by, I'm looking a lot better as a U.S. president. Trump's doing all this wild stuff. You know, I was on a plane with Epstein. Trump was, covering Epstein files.
Oh, he's definitely doing some of that stuff anyways.
Yeah, it really is degenerate. And this is the thing, is like, this is a heartbreaking thing for me because, like, here's my family, pig farmers, potato farmers, cattle ranchers, you name it, right? And that world doesn't exist anymore.
Is that the photo of her?
Yeah, this is Trump's Shoddy want a thug, bottles in the club. Shoddy want a thug.
Trump's got a type. He likes his Victoria's Secret.
I like it when you tweet what I say.
Think about like some of the memories. Tulsi Gabbard, kind of not. You know, he's got who's the press secretary where she now resides? Caroline Levitt. Like, dude, he's got a type. You can see
central casting for sure. He thinks like a Hollywood director instead of a CEO or president.
Exactly.
And that's so horrifying because they're literally actors. Like they're that act like.
Well, she's good to look at. Hire her. And it's like that. I mean, that's sometimes the calculation that he makes. But I'm done with the deep dive here. But
that was
why I do that is because I am trying to get people to understand. Do not believe the hype. These are going to be smoke screens. Anything that you see, do a little bit more research. That's beyond. And I know people are already sick and tired of Trump. But
let's go over what we do here on Gray Area because that's very specific to what we do here. And I think that's the real element that you've brought to the show and refined that people have really, they reach out about and they say thank you. Because here's the thing. We all have this, a confirmation bias. We all have this, kind of Dunning-Kruger effect where you learn something at one point. Maybe you study an issue, for like a few weeks really intensely. You read about it, you watch videos on it. And then it's just like the OnlyFarms thing. There's so many things that happen over and over and over again to where we all need refreshers on these things constantly and not just from a surface level. We got to go at least midway through the iceberg, under the water, look at it. And of course, there's minutia that we aren't totally able to discuss just because we don't know. But this creates the environment for people to start asking questions.
It is 100%. And that is like my whole ethos. So it's like, if I have the ability to do this now with access to so much information and documents and articles and all of the things that were not as accessible to our grandparents. Like, dude, imagine the propaganda back then. Next level, you get all your news from 3 channels. If you want to go learn something, you got to figure it out in a book. You can't go and ask ChatGPT or Claude or Grok like a question and have it dive deeper into that. Like, you're talking about next level propaganda, and people are waking up. You cannot trick us anymore.
And I think that's the silver lining with all of it. And this is why, like, for the past 8 years or coming up 2028, 8 years of Trump and Biden, you have senior citizens in our government that don't understand what they're messing with. ultimately. Like, of course, like they're bankrupting the country and hurting everybody and making all these big companies rich. But because of the cell phone, because of the computer, because of the access to information that people have, it doesn't, you don't have to do that deep of a deep dive to realize.
No.
You can watch 15 minutes of what you did today.
You watch 15 minutes of what I did. Even a simple prompt in AI is going to tell you more than what that headline says. Honestly, somebody could make a living off of taking every single piece of slop that goes out there, just every post from the White House or Trump, and just, hey, is this true?
Well, that's
is this true?
That's the strategy. On the other hand, is just the information overload, where like so much crazy stuff is happening at so many different times throughout just each and every day that they want you to get kind of tied down. But you got to look at it in the grander picture. Like we've talked about the beef today, but that's also in context of the oil price. That's also in context of like the government corruption. There's so many different angles to all of this, and it's all interconnected. Every single deep dive that you do, you could go look at it. You could think about 5 other different deep dives that we've done, like the egg one, on the chicken one specifically. Like that very clearly, Tim, you were able to demonstrate tiny little dip in supply, mountain of price increase for no reason.
Yes. And you know what I'm seeing as a trend as I do all of these little mini deep dives or massive deep dives? It's one big web where like you don't think one thing is connected, but it really is.
It's a mind map. Yeah.
It's all like same song, different tune, different flavor. And then you kind of realize that like it all kind of funnels up to the same power structures at the end of the day. And I'm like, oh,
it's paralysis by analysis sometimes, right?
It's so hard sometimes. Like you spend hours doing these things and you start consuming this kind of content, and it just sometimes I'm going to be too brutally honest with you guys. It's disheartening sometimes just to realize like how fucked the system is.
I often think of South Park, and there's this episode, it's relatively modern, I think it's like season 20 or something like that, where Cartman takes a photo of himself in the mirror and he's like fat, so he looks horrible, and he posts it on Facebook and everyone's like attacking him. So he then gets PC Principal to assign him Butters as his like social media filter guy, and he has to go through and like get rid of all the negative comments, and then he brings Cartman like a piece of paper. It's like everyone's like, oh, you look sick, you look amazing, look cool. And then like Steven Seagal wants the same service, so Butters starts doing it for him. Like Demi Lovato, XYZ, and just in the middle of the episode, Butters just has like the black eyes, like the tired eyes, just defeated, beaten, and that's a lot of what it is like to look at this news all the time. It is disheartening.
Yeah,
but we do have to keep in mind the propaganda wouldn't be necessary if the situation were hopeless. That's what Joe Kent said. I totally agree with that. If Americans over the next 4 to 8 years, like Brandon said, we're going to have that time period where things get really bad. He predicted like a 40% decrease, basically. Not him, he's quoting someone else, but like he mentioned this from a leading economist, right? Yeah. That this is a high probability of that happening. I think that is what will get people to wake up and say, hey, we still got a lot of this infrastructure. We still got a lot of power, especially regionally in our hemisphere. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And the first person who runs on that platform will win. Like seriously,
I'll get behind them.
And I talked to Mark.
I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican at this point. Somebody needs to come in, step up to the plate, do the right thing, even if it means that your life might be on the line, because you know what you're signing up for.
And that's the thing about the two parties. They're just so controlled that it's just the likelihood of that happening. Like I talked to Mark Mitchell, right? And he's like, look, around like 1 million to 2 million boomers are leaving the electorate every year, and around 1 million, 3 million or some number like that of younger people are joining the electorate, right? So you're just going to reach a point where like you're going to have these dinosaurs in Washington and the asteroid's going to hit. And that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
right?
And you think about the psychology, like if you want to understand somebody's present, you got to look at the past. They didn't have access to as much information as we do. So of course, naturally, you're going to think completely different than the newer generation. Now, dude, you know, like 15 years ago, this stuff, people would have been calling me conspiracy theorist like your dad.
Right.
Just for covering this stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. That's the real poison of that label. Of course, that label, conspiracy theorist, who created that? The CIA, right? Because you're not allowed to question their narrative, right? They can say whatever they want about anybody at any time.
They're Q. They're Q.
Yeah, QAnon. But then you question it, and then you're the insane person. Play this clip, because this is what it is like to cover the news and to watch it every day. This is key. I'm glad you found this, Wes. Amazing job. You're a true patriot and American.
Here, hold up. there you are. You have my social media comments?
Yeah, right here. I just finished this morning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. Oh, great. This is all the Twitter comments?
Yeah, and the people commenting on your Yelp page starts here.
Okay, nice. Oh, nice. Oh, very enthusiastic. This is so great. Oh, Kyle, you thought me having someone edit my social media would make me look stupid? You should see all the comments I'm getting. People are actually really stoked on me now.
It's a pretty brutal job sifting through all that darkness.
It's a pretty brutal job to sift through all the darkness. That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think we do it for the love of the game, man. Just giving all this information, distilling it down for something that you guys can watch. Honestly, you guys are the drive at the end of the day for why we do this stuff.
Knowledge is power.
It is power.
And that's a decision that you guys got to make is like tell friends, family, coworkers, acquaintances. Like I watch a show called Gray Area. They break down these things in a way we haven't heard before. You haven't heard before. You need to see this clip. You need to see this account, see this video. And that's really how we grow the show. And that's why growing the show is important is because we're young people. Me and Tim, we'll both be alive, God willing, in 50 years, right? This is not fair to us. This is not fair to our future families, our future children. It's not fair to your future children, your future grandchildren, because they should not be debt slaves in lands that their fathers and mothers conquered, fought for, survived.
100%.
Period. It's incredibly disgusting. And it shows really just this like contempt for the American public that people in power are willing to do this for like, just a few million. Like they sell it for nothing. These companies, they make tens of billions of dollars bankrupting us.
Well, yeah, that is the calculation for them. They're like, well, we're willing to spend this 5 because we know we're going to get that tenfold easily, probably 100-fold. So yeah, they're going to put up the money and somebody's going to bite. That's really how the calculation goes for our government. But I definitely, I mean, we didn't really do News Blitz, but I think we covered so much today.
I've been having to take care of my granddad. We did corn and domestic. We covered it all.
We covered it all. I'm also a little tired right now. But again, please just go and subscribe to the channel. Honestly, I'm going to pull up Primal Core too. Go ahead and pull that up.
Yeah, go primalcore.com. If you guys want the highest quality nutritional supplements, there's one place to go, Primal Core. Go primalcore.com. We've got the Elemental Drive, which is just a 6-in-1 like multi-mineral that everyone should be taking. Our soils are so depleted. The food is so bad. You need zinc. You need boron. You need selenium. You need magnesium. You need copper. You need all these things and more, which are all found inside of the Core Fusion bundle. We got Ultimate Ashwagandha, which is like the king, queen, adaptogen, you name it. And then we've got the Elemental Drive. And Tim, talk about, like your doctor talked to you about supplementation.
Yeah, so like if you guys have been following the journey, I think probably like a month and a half ago, I hit a wall physically because I wasn't listening to my body. And I was just exhausted all the time, tired. I couldn't focus.
You were really having to grind through it.
Dude, I was getting so much brain fog. Like I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I had to get blood work, figure out what's going on. And I realized like, okay, I'm deficient in a lot of different things. Specifically, vitamin D was the big culprit there. And I was like, okay, well, I need to do something about that. And supplementing it because I was trying to change the diet and eat the right things, but it's really hard to do that consistently, especially like if you're talking in the morning. I don't really eat. So now I'm able to take like Elemental Drive. And I was very consistent taking all the supplements that I was taking, and it had a massive impact on my on my health. Right. And my one mistake was I was like, oh, I'm feeling fantastic. I'll just stop taking everything and just kind of like coast it out.
But you got it.
And then I started, and now I'm feeling the fatigue coming back, and I realized I need to get back on the regimen.
And specifically, like for different populations, you're going to have different minerals that are going to be more critical, different vitamins. If you have more melanin, you need more vitamin D.
Yes.
That's just a reality. So like if you go to the doctor, like they're going to tell you to take vitamin D. That's just a reality.
Yes. And because it has so many impacts on all the other development parts of your body and your energy. It makes all
your hormones.
Yeah, your hormones.
It's critically involved.
Yeah. So like I'm literally today I started back on my regimen. Like I was literally taking everything for a month straight, perfect every single day, no side effects, nothing. It was perfect. I even I like to do my due diligence. Like I test our own products. I also do my own research. I chat GPT'd. I'm like, can I take this stuff every single day without any adverse effects? 100%, because they're all just normal ingredients. That's the whole point of the brand, is bringing things that have existed for thousands of years into modern day life in an easy application for you to consume. If you've done it for thousands of years, it is no different than taking it today.
And let me throw in another point here. Let me just look at it from a supplement perspective. Let's go back to the elemental drive really quick. You're going to look at the magnesium here. Now, if you go buy a magnesium supplement, right, the cheaper one, which is not as good as magnesium glycinate, but it's still relatively okay, magnesium citrate, that's going to run you like $14, $15 a bottle. This has that plus 5 other critical ingredients that you need for under $30. Okay, like literally, we're able to pass these savings on to you because we control the manufacturing, we control the shipping, we control all the points of failure. So this really is a thing as to where come in for the big win. And you can talk about that discount code. That's even more.
Yep, 25% off, Core 25. That's all you got to do is put in Core 25. You just go to goprimalcore.com. Simple. It's actually in the
it's in the link tree.
It's in the link tree. Because X changed like their
because it was
their banner. It was displaying.
Top.
They were super easy for it, and I think they changed their stuff of how they're displaying things now, so it's not there anymore. But it is in the link tree. Go to goprimalcore.com. Literally, you can get 25% off, and then if you do the subscription, we have several people that are on subscription that buy this every single month without fail. You're gonna literally save an extra 30% off, and you're basically paying $25 a month.
And we
to
did
keep yourself up.
Everything involved with making the product, everything involved with design, everything involved with like actual manufacturing, shipping. Like you're getting this from us. Like it wasn't a big brand that's like, we're going to give you guys a deal. This is literally you and me and business partner coming up with all this stuff and creating it and making it real. And that's what we do here. This is a real authentic operation. Other shows that you see, maybe they have better production value. I don't even think that's true. We got Wes, who does a phenomenal job on the show. It really does come down to, though, if you want to see us enhance and upgrade and really pay the people that have been backing us day after day for free, basically, with their time, their effort, their soul, then go to goprimalcore.com and actually support this operation. Subscribe to one of these products, both these products. You will see it improve your life, and that will be money well spent. I know it's hard right now. I know it's we both really understand this. At the same time, though, are you going to go DoorDash Burger King, a meal for 2? Or are you going to get goprimalcore.com that gives you more than an entire month of incredible benefit?
100%.
And that's what it comes down to for me, I think. Cost-benefit analysis.
And it's that silent power, man. That silent energy that you get. It's not like a stimulant, nothing like that. It just allows me to function. And I'm very glad you formulated this, man.
Yeah, dude. And
it was a lifesaver for me.
We made it for everybody. Okay, all these ingredients, ashwagandha, this is the #1 adaptogen. You go to the grocery store, you're going to see that sold out every single time. We got a really good price on that product. But yeah.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. We're going to head out. It has been a phenomenal show. Brandon, deep dive,
the clips
everything.
are going to be wild.
Yes, 100%. We thank you, guys. Love you. Catch us Tuesday morning.
Yeah, that's right. Peace.
All right. Peace.